Hello, beautiful friend, and welcome to this episode of the Manifest Massively podcast. I'm so excited to share this with you. I had the most extraordinary blessing of being able to spend Christmas for 5 days at Miraval, Tucson. And it's one of my favorite places. If you don't know what it is, I'll definitely link in the show notes and description below what Miraval is. It's an extraordinary place. And specifically, what I wanted to share with you is an experience that I had inside of their equine program. So, Miraval is this wellness resort. They have several properties, but this particular property in Tucson. And it's got a beautiful spa, all kinds of spa treatments. It's got all kinds of activities, an amazing gym. It is a intentional place where you are encouraged to be off your phones and off your screens, and there's actually designated place where you can be on your phone. And so it's immersive. And one of the things that they offer is equine therapy, which is essentially classes that you interact with an instructor and horses depending on what the topic of the lesson is. So that was my second time at Miraval. And I decided to do an equine class because I had done one previously and I'd always been curious. Now, I have to share with you, I've never been a horse person. I have seen horses. I love animals. I've ridden a horse twice in my life. So, I'm not somebody that has a lot of experience with them. But I've also heard that they're these magnificent creatures that can be very healing. And so I took the opportunity to take a class back in 2021. I think it was July, and had a really great experience. I was actually reading about polyvagal theory, and there were some other things that were like synchronicities that came up in the interaction with the horses that we had that the instructor had come up because she was talking a lot in that class about the social engagement state. And essentially, that when we have that brain heart coherence, it's when we feel more receptive to connecting and how necessary that state of existence is when we're connecting with the horse. And it's also a necessary state for us to feel good and connect with others. So, while that could be its own podcast episode, this one is what my takeaway from this horse experience because it was so profound to me. And if I could sum it up in two words, intention and energy. And literally, I came away from that experience with the understanding that literally everything is intention and energy. So I'm going to break down what it was that had me come to that conclusion and then also how I'm utilizing that because I definitely understood that as a concept previous to this experience, right? We've all heard about the power of intention. We all know about the power of energy, and we can talk on and on and on about that. So, this class that I took, I wish I could remember the name of it, but the task of the class was to be in a corral with a horse and to have the horse walk around the perimeter of the corral at a certain pace, pick up its pace, have it stop, turn around, go in the opposite direction, and do the same thing. To have the horse do that without verbalizing anything to the horse and without touching the horse. So at first you're like, well, how the heck am I going to do that, especially if I'm not a horse person? And how this lesson began, and there were two other people in the class with me. I was able to observe their experience with the whole thing and watch what they were getting out of it. And so I went third, I went last, and I had a brief conversation with the instructor, Lucinda. And she asked me what was my intention for the experience. And she made a distinction to set an intention and not necessarily an outcome. And I just thought, what a powerful thing I think on some level, if you've studied personal development a long time, you probably know that. But we can get lost in our outcomes. If we are so focused on the number on the scale or whether or not we're in a relationship or what our status is on certain things or the number in the bank account, we're just so caught up in whether or not we're actually having those outcomes occur. And we're disconnected from what it is that we actually want to experience, what it is that we actually want to contribute, what is our intention for more than just what the end goal is. It can be a really dissatisfying life. It can be a really empty, exhausting experience. So I took that to heart, obviously. And so she asked me, do you have any apprehension about being able to do this? And I was like, well, yeah, like I've never done this before. And she asked what my intention was. And I told her that my intention was really about breaking through self-doubt and experiencing myself being confident. And we talked about where that was showing up in my life. And I'll just share that with you here because I think it's poignant. And it's really that, I'd gone through a grieving process after several losses in 2021, and 2022 was really about healing from those losses and coming back from those losses. And I was really at the stage of trusting life again, trusting myself again, right? There are certain hopes and aspirations that we have, and sometimes things don't go the way that we want them to go. And it comes to a point of, well, we need to restore our faith in ourselves, restore our faith in life, restore our faith in the universe in order to be able to move forward. Because if that faith is not restored, if that confidence is not restored, then we're never really going to be fully stepping into and asking for what we want. So she took that to heart, and we had that set as the intention of the experience of confidence. And then, of course, she demonstrated this in the very, very beginning. The horse's name was Bailey, and I began on this, you know, task, this journey. So then all of a sudden, it's just me and Bailey. And I wish she told me the name of the tool that she gave us, but she did have us hold what would be called a whip, but of course, you're not using that on the horse. She said it just was kind of something that can help direct your energy. So I start slowly walking towards Bailey and literally with my energy and my intention, ask Bailey to begin to walk the perimeter of the corral. And he does. And then I raise my energy up and higher to ask him to move faster. And he does. And I'm just so in the moment with it. And I get him to stop. I get him to turn around. I ask him to walk again. He does all the things. And then at one point, I ask him to go faster again, because of course I'm trying to do this right and get him to do everything that I'm supposed to get him to do. And then he doesn't move. And I remember the moment that happened, it was like everything slowed down and I could see this opportunity in my mind that I could either be upset and be concerned that the horse wasn't doing what I wanted it to do, or I could simply ask again with my energy. And as soon as I did that thought process and just let any doubts and concerns go and just upped my energy, he started going so fast to the point where it was a little bit scary. And I had to exhale and focus on my energy to go down, and he slowed down. Now, I don't know how this sounds to you in listening to this, but for me, it literally broke down the process of life and manifestation in such a gorgeous way. And I had a beautiful, brief conversation with Lucinda afterwards. And then I got feedback from the other students. But one of the main things that I remember is that the entire time that I was in the corral, I was not focused on Bailey. I wasn't trying to get Bailey to do anything. I wasn't trying to force Bailey, coerce Bailey, make Bailey do anything. All that I was focused on was my energy and my intention. I was focused on what my intention was, which was to have this experience of fulfilling the task at hand And I was directing my energetic ask towards Bailey and then allowing Bailey to respond how Bailey was choosing to respond, not making it my responsibility for how Bailey responds, but simply showing up to ask. And this was really the breakdown that Lucinda and I had afterwards, where I'm trying to remember exactly what she said, but we talked about how Bailey didn't move at that certain point. And we really highlighted the fact that I didn't react to that. I didn't go to a negative place about that. I really just let that be, but then continued to stand in my intention to ask him to move faster with my energy. And then he did. What a beautiful message. And I really hope that the message comes through to you today, whether you're watching this on video or listening on the podcast, that at the core, all of the doubts and concerns set aside, all like just set everything aside. And if you can just line up with your intention, now you can get clear on the outcome because the outcome was to get Bailey to move. So it's okay to have an outcome. It's just that your experience of life, if it's totally wrapped up in the outcome, it's not going to be great because sometimes the outcome's going to be the way you want it to be and sometimes it's not. That's just how it goes, right? Sometimes it's going to be better than you expect. Sometimes it's going to be worse than you expect. All that you have control over is you, the intention that you set, and your energetic ask, and essentially the actions that you take that are in alignment with that. So if you can set your intention and then ask with your energy. Now, I wanted to share that there was another gal in the class. I don't remember her name. I think her name was Ivy. That her experience was that she had all of her attention on the horse and she was able to fulfill on all of the things as well. And I thought that was really interesting to honor and acknowledge that where we need to place our energy might be different for each and every one of us. For some of us, it might be more impactful to keep our intention and our energetic ask within ourselves. For others, it might be more powerful to have our energy be out there over where they are. And so to pay attention to that nuance and accept the diversity about that we might just all have our own individual process about it. The message that I wanted you to take away from this episode is just how potent and powerful the simplicity of just focusing on your intention and your energetic ask. Oftentimes, we can't necessarily control how people are going to respond, how the universe is going to respond. Even when a basketball player is training to make as many shots as possible, as soon as he makes that throw, as soon as the ball leaves his hands, he doesn't have control over what happens. What happens is going to happen. He's going to make the shot or he's not going to make the shot. All that he can continue to do is to build mastery around doing the things in his body and his mind that are going to line up with the outcome of making the shot and continuously show up for that. And then I'll add to that, allowing yourself to be in a beautiful state while you're in that process. You're going to be going through the motions. You're going to be taking the action. You're going to be doing the things that there are to do. You set your intention, you do the energetic ask, and then allow yourself to enjoy the process while you are going through that. So that was my share. That was today's episode about intention and energy. And who would have thought that an equine experience could teach me so much about manifestation than I would have thought. Let me know, have you ever worked with horses in this way? Is it something you'd want to do? And also let me know, what is your experience with focusing on intention and energy? And if you have not had experience with that, then go forth and experiment with setting an intention for your experience that you want to have and be in your energetic ask, whatever that may look like for you, and then let me know how it goes. Thank you so much for listening and being here, and I can't wait to see you in the next one.